This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
Hi, I'm Mike Quaddy, manager of the Rochester Red Wings. And this week, I'll tell you everything that I don't know about the trade deadline.
I'm Dan Moriarty from Fox Sports 1280. Not only did we lose a legend, but part of our family.
I'm Tariq Spence from WDKX Wake Up Club. I'll tell you why, for soccer, the fling may be over for the summer, but it can be sustainable over time.
And I'm Bill Pucko, why Becky Hammon might be an important name to remember. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined this week by Dan Moriarty, sitting in for John DiTullio, Tariq Spence, who is in for Mike Catalana. And it is our distinct pleasure to have a real celebrity in town, Mike Quaddy, the first-year manager of the Rochester Red Wings, who has been everywhere and done everything as far as baseball is concerned. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
In spite of all that, it's great to be here.
It's a good time to be talking baseball. The trade deadline, it's one of the hottest weeks of the season. What's it like being on the inside, dealing with all the securities, all the scouts, all the questions? What's it like?
Well, it's exciting. And it's also, I'm a fan. As people say, well, you must know what's going on. I don't. And I may know if Terry's talking to me about this particular player or that particular player, or somebody calls me about somebody that I've had before in the past. But that major league thing is still there, and we're here in AAA, and obviously young players may be involved. I was with Chicago and Iowa managing in AAA, and really wasn't getting a feel for what Jim Hendry was trying to do at trade deadline. Dusty's club was in the hunt. In fact, we're playing great. And we're stretching before batting practice, day before the deadline. I lose 3 guys out of stretch. Oh, okay, well, that's part of the deal. Talk to those guys, get them on their way. Go back out, continue stretching, phone rings. I lose 2 more, lost 5 guys in one day.
Unbelievable.
Just enough. Fortunately, 3 of them were pitchers, and we were able to play a ball game.
You got a home series now. Are there scouts? Are there people in the stands that are looking at guys here so that things might happen?
Yeah, the crush is probably, I see scouts all the time. Home road, guys have coverage all the time. They've got organizational coverage, so we see a lot of them. But there's more at this time of year. And it's also dependent on, who's in the hunt, whether I'm going to see a scout from this organization or that organization who I know. They don't declare themselves unless they have the questions, like you say. But I can spot a scout a mile away, and not only do they sit, but they're there for batting practice, and it's a tireless job. But there's a lot of guys checking a lot of it. There's Philly scouts everywhere.
That's funny. Do you know something that you can't tell us?
I do not. I really don't. And that's a God's honest truth. I wouldn't tell you anyway.
Yeah, well, that's
okay. Okay. But no, I'm being honest.
When you fill out your line, do you fill it out in pencil, or you're just like, oh?
Well, this time of year, that's a great question, and because I'm stupid sometimes, I do that anyway, trade deadline or not. But you're always a little bit careful, and lineup changes at this level are rampant. Whether it's this time of year or any time of year, and guys that manage against you, everybody understands it. I had a couple the other day, whether it's illness, whether it's trade, whether it's just the movement at AAA is greater than anywhere else.
Well, look, we got Yankees and we got Mets, guys that follow these 2 teams, and they're both in the hunt. Yeah. What would you like to see, and what do you think your team will do there, Danny?
Well, I think this will be a fascinating deadline to watch, just because, again, we haven't had this second wild card for that many years now, and how it affects both the American and National League and how teams are going to attack it, because you're never really completely out of this thing unless you're a completely awful team. So
the Red Sox.
And to hear, like a team like the Tigers with the expectations that they had going into this season, all the rumblings this week about them being sellers at the deadline, to me that's fascinating, especially because of the expectations going into the year.
Yeah, how about the Mets?
Does anybody have any hitters? Please, anybody who can hit and doesn't want to take one of our 3 or 4 arms that are amazing. You're looking for the best deal possible if you're the Mets. The problem is that they all want their top 3 or 4 pitchers, and the Mets can't afford to lose them.
Well, make a deal. Make a deal right now. You're Yankees, you're the Mets. Make a deal, and make it reasonable.
Well, it's always
now
tough.
That's out. Now I was in until you said to make it reasonable. Now I'm out.
It's always easier to play GM from the sidelines.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys have such difficult jobs because as a fan, you're never giving up enough to get the guy that you want.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you don't want to give up any of those pitchers.
No, I don't want to give them.
The Mets, in terms of their rotation, when you look at the future going in, you don't want to mortgage your future just for one season.
If I'm giving up a big arm, I've got to get a big bat back, and that we're talking about 3 or 4 pitchers. You're going to have to give me a solid hitter is Miguel Cabrera available? Is Mike Trout available? We're talking that big, but the Mets bats have got to get better. I don't know. Andre Ethier is probably what they're going to end up with.
And the Twins, now they're in a funny spot because they're a surprise contender. They're right in the thick of it. What can they do?
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I can speculate like you guys who cover the clubs just because I'm here. I think they're probably 10th in the American League in pitching, 13th. And, I happened to look the other day. I mean, it's amazing what's going on there. And we have such a young group of talent coming, which everybody's talked about and maybe have arrived a little bit early, which is never a bad thing. That maybe you just stand pat and say, you know what, we're ahead of the game right now. We've been relying on these young kids. We're happy with our starting pitching. We're happy with
it's so funny. So those last games become so important because you're either on a winning streak or losing, and it changes the way you think about the whole season. What Becky Hammon might mean to professional sports when the original Rochester Press Box continues. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. Becky Hammon is her name. She's 38 years old. She's a former Miss South Dakota basketball, went to Colorado State, was an All-American, played in the WNBA. She is a head coach of the Summer League team for the San Antonio Spurs, won the league, and people are now talking about her in serious tones about being the first woman coach of a male professional team in the United States. You see it happening?
I see it happening, and I see it happening probably within the next 4 or 5 years. I give it that 5-year sort of window. The reason why is if you saw any portion of Summer League basketball, and I like basketball, you could see how the players reacted to her. And I think that was the most interesting thing in the championship game against the Suns. They were doing a couple of trick passes behind the back, not the Popovich way, not the Hammon way. And she got right in their face, challenged alpha dogs. I can see this. I could see her actually coaching an NBA team with a progressive owner, with new ideas, forward moving. Danny, this is next. I mean, it's going to happen, and she would be the one, and who knows how many other coaches are there.
Well, and she's gone about it the right way, too. I mean, getting into the Spurs organization, if you're looking at in baseball, I mean, the Cardinals. In basketball, the Spurs. In NFL, it's probably the Patriots. When you're looking at the organizations across the sporting landscape, I mean, if you would want to be the first woman to be a head coach in the NBA, get in as an assistant coach with Greg Popovich, who's one of the great coaches in all the sports, and with the Spurs, one of the great organizations in all the sports. And look, she was a great player in her own right. Like you said, you can see the respect that she has from the players on that team. She started with them a couple of years ago. Then she got this full-time assistant job. The players know her well. It's a great culture, great chemistry in that organization. And I think it's kind of the perfect way to introduce a woman into the league. And, hey, she's done a hell of a job so far.
Yeah, all right. Can it,
I just hope she doesn't want my job. What the heck? That's,
Can it work in baseball? I'd say basketball is being the progressive sport.
It could. The fact that it's been tried and she's had some success, pay your dues and see what happens. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Now, we had Pam Postema trying to do the barrier with umpires. It's a tough gig and it's a tough sell, but this is kind of news to me. I don't follow the NBA. I love college hoops. Whoever gets an opportunity, make the most of it. And I do agree that for someone like that, it would seem to me you got to start in that organization, stay in that organization, and she's got to experience the fact that these guys respected her, as you said, Tariq. So why not? But it seems like she is going about it the right way. It was always
convincing baseball was the slowest to change, though, because it was back, and this was years, this was probably in the 80s, where Rochester had professional teams, basketball and baseball, and had female newspaper reporters covering them both, different women. Right. Basketball team couldn't have cared less. I mean, they didn't wear the towels, the whole issues, and all the rest of that stuff, and they got real resistance from the Red Wings. Is it in the culture?
Well, I probably not at this point, and probably maybe something as simple as there's female hoops. There's WNBA. There's no female baseball. college softball. And that may seem like a minor point, but I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. So you don't even have a successful female coach at the college level or high school level, baseball-wise. And so I just would throw that out there. I don't know for sure, but I think that matters too. But there's females in this game in front office positions and stuff, and
that's
in
really
all the
where
sports
I think
now.
they can have an impact.
Well, absolutely. But but understanding the game and learning your craft. I don't care if you're male or female, is important, and that's if you can earn the respect doing that, whatever the gender, knock yourself out.
Cool. Like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. Mike Quaddy is our special guest, Rochester Red Wings manager. Tariq Spence, Dan Moriarty. Like it or not, being a baseball lifer, and before you answer, this is just where you've managed. Macon, Rockford, Harrisburg, Ottawa, Scranton, Grand Rapids, Huntsville, Edmonton, and Vancouver, which doesn't include your minor league playing career. When did you know that this had such a grip on you?
Man, I'm not smart enough to do anything else, so I fooled somebody into thinking I could coach or manage in the minor leagues first, and then did my thing like Miss Becky's trying to do.
You mentioned that you were the manager of the Cubs, and you've been with the Yankees and the A's, had nice stretches in majors too.
Right, and we talked and went to the Caribbean and had some success there, and went to Australia. And it's the journey's incredible, and then getting the opportunity, and God bless Jim Henry for giving it to me, to manage in your hometown. Cost me a lot in tickets. and it didn't work out the way I was really hoping. But for a guy that didn't play in the big leagues and has been a lifer in the minors, it's been great. I love the road. I love the kids. I don't have any kids of my own, and I tell people I got 25 new ones every year. And that's kind of the way you wind up feeling. Now, when you get to be my age now, I mean, that's exactly the way you feel. And, I stepped away from managing for 3 years, came back here to do it, and I've got a great group of guys, and you can put another pin on the city.
Is there an undiscovered gem out there? I mean, from all the places you played and managed and then visited as a visitor, is there a place out there that you said, you know what, it gets overlooked, but this was a really nice place I liked?
I am a huge fan of mid-level cities, which is basically what minor league baseball is. Now, I laugh. I go in last year, one of our A-ball clubs with the Yankees is in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm in love with that city. I'm a foodie, blah, blah, blah. Great city. These kids are in low A ball and they're playing in Charleston in front of 5,000-6,000 a night, and you go in there late in August. It's hot. It's and the guys they're hanging and moping, and you just hammer them. You're in Charleston. You could be in Kinston or some of the places that I went. But it boils down to here the ownership and Dan, great. Iowa, great people in Iowa. That's what it boils down to. A mid-level city is what it is. I love Florida. I live in Florida. They don't have a team for me down there. But just the ability to travel to all these different places. But when you're in town, you're pretty much about baseball, and the people you're working for and the environment that's created determines how good it is. So I've been very lucky to have been in a lot of good places. Canada, unbelievable for 3 years.
Danny, like it or not, Colin Cowherd, $6 million to move from ESPN to Fox.
Huh. Well, if you're Colin Cowherd, you like it. I mean, congratulations to him. I mean, Fox is getting a guy that, he's got an audience. He gets himself ratings. There's a reason why they're giving him that sort of money. And then from the sound of it, it's not like ESPN wasn't going to give him some sort of decent contract as well. Now, from somebody who works for Fox Sports Radio, I'm interested to see where he ends up in the radio lineup. It's always good for us
but it's your future
to accumulate talent.
This is what you do. I mean, you're a sports talk radio host.
Yeah, no, it's good to see that somebody in radio can make some money. But yeah.
That's a lot.
Congratulations to Cowherd, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But hey, he's earned it. He's a guy that's bounced around the country. He's been in some smaller markets. He got his chance with a big-time show on ESPN, killed it, and now has launched himself into Fox Sports. So congratulations to him.
Tariq, like it or not, the feds dropped the charges on Barry Bonds.
I like it. The reason why I do is because this has been really a dog and pony show for a long time. They've cleaned up the sport. They've instituted new policies. They've put in maybe a few more restrictions. It's over for Bonds. He's lost in the court of public opinion for a lot of people. Over time, I think he will be able to win that back, as did McGuire did coaching now, as I think Clemens will do. I just think that this was a waste of resources for the government. Too much time spent on that. We knew it was a problem, but I think it was baseball's problem to clean up. I don't think it was the government's problem to clean up.
Mike, give me 20 seconds, just your take on the PED era.
Oh, gosh. That's the first 5. The next 2 are to agree exactly with what he said about Bonds and get the government and the Congress and everybody else out of our game, unless things get really ugly. I mean, I think this was a baseball problem, too. Not happy about it. Think about the guys probably in my era, and I stunk, so I don't want to. But 50s, 60s, 70s that were not on it, that are being compared, and whether you're and in the court of public opinion, I think Tariq's right. But I'm glad they cleaned it up. I like a fair game, and life's never fair, but that was taking things to another level. So I'm glad they've cleaned it up, and I hope the thing stays as clean as it can.
Unfinished business when we return. Hi everyone, I'm Bill Pucko. Classy Wolf Media is proud to be in its 5th year contributing quality local sports programming to the Rochester area on local network television. The Vision High School Sports Beat and Rochester Press Box are making real contributions to the Rochester sports scene and offer unique and affordable sponsorship opportunities. To become part of this vibrant community, contact the Chuck Hinkle Agency at 690-8547 for more information. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Time for Unfinished Business. Danny, start us off.
Well, I'm a self-proclaimed radio geek. That's something that started at an early age for me. It's exactly why I got into radio. I fell in love with radio as a child for a couple of reasons. I really have 2 people to thank. One I get to work with, Bob Matthews. I listen to his show every night with my father and my parents at the dinner table, 6 to 8 o'clock. I learned sports from Bob, and I learned to read by reading his column. The other guy was Van Miller, the voice of the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that's my childhood. Listening to the Bills, obviously the glory days during the good years for Buffalo, but I mean, they called him Uncle Van for a reason. He was a family member to everybody in Western New York, certainly every Buffalo Bills fan in Western New York. We lost Van Miller last week, but like I said, I mean, even though I only got a chance to meet him a couple of times, and that was just a couple of years ago, he felt like a family member to me. I'll never forget listening to the Music City Miracle game. I couldn't watch Steve Christie attempt that field goal. I had to go to the other room and listen to Van Miller's call because I couldn't watch it on TV. And once Van Miller said those comfortable words that the ball had gone through the uprights, I was able to go back into the room and watch the end of the game, which of course was one of the more painful finishes I've ever experienced as a fan. But I just want to say thank you to Van Miller. Like I said, him and Bob Matthews are 2 of the reasons why I fell in love with radio as a kid, and one of the reasons I'm in radio now, and I'm pursuing it as a career. So if it wasn't for Van Miller or my good friend Bob Matthews, that wouldn't necessarily be the case.
I grew up in Boston where they had like legendary announcers. I mean, from Kurt Gowdy, Johnny Mose doing the games and stuff, the Celtics and the Red Sox. What I really loved about Van, and I never saw anyone that did it better, you didn't need the TV. Van, more than anybody, by his description, you could see the play happen. It wasn't who got the ball and how much did he get, and then the analyst tells you where he ran and all the rest of the stuff. Van would lay it out there, and he said you didn't need the TV. You could see the game through the way Van described it, and I never saw anyone do that better.
He was funny. He was a showman. Like you said, the imagery that he described with, and I've never been more nervous or more starstruck to meet somebody than when I got a chance to meet him a couple years ago after the Bills came back and beat Carolina in a dramatic fashion. basically hearing him call the end of the game because he was commenting on it 2 seats behind me. It was an absolute thrill.
Well, I suppose I should thank everybody, you guys, for having me here today, which is great. But we've had a decent run here to start the season, and I really want to thank the front office people, but mainly right now just the fans that come out and support us day in and day out. And there's a great group of people we see all the time, and people that I'm getting to know more and more. And we've gone through a little bit of a rough stretch here. We're still in first place, and we need to play better down the stretch and try and finish this thing off. But I've had a great few months here in Rochester, another stop on my long trip through the minor leagues, and I just have a tremendous amount of appreciation for minor league fans and the people that come out and support us. Cold weather, great weather, whatever the case might be. So thanks again for having me, and hope to see everybody at the ballpark.
Well, it's been great because there was a lot of apprehension because we loved Gene Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, this was good. It can't get better. And you come in
Well,
and
I
look,
can't
we got a
stand
first
Gene
place
Glenn,
club.
so the heck with that. Gene and I are close. We've known each other for years. We worked together in Montreal 20-some years ago. So it almost went full circle.
Well, it's good to have you, Mike.
Thank you.
Tariq?
Well, I will say this, it was a nice run, and we have our once in a while summer flings with different sports. Sometimes it's soccer, sometimes it's golf, sometimes it's tennis. We had a nice fling with summer sports yet again with soccer, and this is the one thing that tends to sort of stick with me. Ask the kids that you know, especially in my own household, what are their favorite sports? Number 1, basketball. Number 3, baseball. Number 2, soccer. But where's his major league team? What team is he going to follow growing up like I did with the Mets and the Knicks and the Giants? I don't really know because I don't really know too many people in MLS. Now, be fair, MLS has only been around for 13 years. Give it another 10 to 20 years. I know we keep saying this is the generation where soccer will kick it in. But really, we've got to support our own local soccer where the Rhinos are playing extremely well. So are the Lancers, so are the Flash. So the big question will be, that next generation will follow soccer if they've got some major league teams to follow.
All righty. It was always said, all these kids that are playing soccer will watch soccer, but they've been saying that for so long.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
well, that's our program. Dan Moriarty, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Tariq,
Thank
well
you.
done.
I appreciate
and it's
it.
our distinct pleasure to have
Thanks,
you in,
Bill.
Mike Quad.
Great to be
do
here.
this
Thank
again
you.
sometime before the end of the season.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us with the original Rochester Press Box.